Hey Internet, this is DJ Cadera and I am here to hopefully actually answer a question that you might have that I had when I started DJing. Can I actually learn to DJ using a cheap like $100 MIDI controller and go from there to a CDJ? Now, what I have isn't exactly a CDJ, it's a Pioneer XDJ R1. But it has the similar features. It does have the similar things of CD, USB, and the display is actually very reminiscent of the older CDJs. So, with that said, I'm going to put this into three sections. Three, not two, three. Three sections. The first one is, let's just look at the normal MIDI controller, how you're used to it, in case you do want to buy one, right? Second part is, we're going to look at the CDJ, the more expensive devices, and see what the differences are, so you get the idea of what to pay attention to. Third part, and that's the interesting one, is I'm going to show you how to set up your software, or in this case with Traktor Pro 2, and make it so that your MIDI controller is a bit more like a CDJ that I have here. And that way you can actually practice. I'm also going to be telling any kind of differences that you might notice and that you need to pay attention for. So if you do get asked, hey, you want to play in the club, we do have already got some set up. You might want to look into this and see what the differences are. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are. This is my DJI Hercules controller. And right away from the bat, you will probably notice a bunch of similarities, really. If I turn knobs, you will see them work. So that's very basic things, right? So, when you mix with a MIDI controller, sync button is often used, to say the least. Personally, the reason I use them a lot was, well, I can't really use the tempo fader well. If I want to put it on 126 exact, for example, let's see if I can actually do that. You can put on percentages with this though, so you can even it out really well. But it will always just fly back, it's like a few percentages. So. I'm just gonna let you guys watch. You can see the basic things, right, that you are used to.
Just cause everybody doing what they all do. If one thing I know, I fall but I grow. I'm walking down this road of mine, this road that I go home. So am I wrong? Thinking that we could be something for real. Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel.
There you have the gist of it, right? You can notice the little things I'm using here. Personal setup as well a bit, I guess, because I do use the back and forth with 16 beats exact, so I can do those kind of things. Yeah, so that's a good basic gist of it, right? And now we're just gonna switch to a CDJ and see what the differences are, what you can and cannot do. With this we have a list, you can see everything basically from the get-go. Oh, that's that many BPM. I can actually see a lot of information here, right? Those things will pretty much be gone in a bit, so keep that in mind, right? That's one thing. Hello and welcome to my Pioneer XDJ R1. So, right off the bat, I'm thinking you're seeing a lot of similarities here and there. You got your basic knob turnings here for high, mid, slow, basic stuff. Filters, not something I actually have on my other one, but I did actually set up my mids to be the filter at one point. Kind of nice to just have it like this now. So, what's the biggest difference you need to notice with these kind of things? Well, for one, not all of the CDJs have the display with a lot of information. At most, with older ones, you can see like the amount of where the track is, no indication of any waveform, just the name and the BPM. That's a pretty important one though, the BPM. BPM will only show up right away if you already have your songs scanned, and with scanning you actually have a USB, you put it in here, or in CDJ's cases on the CDJs itself, you plug it in. Pro tip, scan them with Rekordbox first, because otherwise they won't actually be scanned at all. Think of it as loading in a track on Traktor or Virtual DJ, or just scanning your library. Basically it does that on the USB with the software of Rekordbox. Keep that in mind. That's a very important thing to actually have if you do just bring a USB and want to play songs. So to start off, let's just put on a song, right? And it does not really matter which one it is. I think let's just take that one. So first up, like I said, you don't really have any visual indication of what the song is, so chances are the song is not starting at the beginning. Rekordbox does scan it nowadays, that it does start at the beginning, but it can actually be a drawback if it doesn't seem to know it right, which actually does screw up your cue. So you're always just kind of messing about with that kind of thing. So normally I do this obviously in my headphones, but for an example, I'm just gonna let you guys hear it as well. That's a good one. It starts there, right? So, and that's like song knowledge, right? I mean, with software you can get away with that kind of thing, but if you don't know where that song should start, you might have some issues. Once again, this is normally not something you actually put on a volume slider, obviously. But you do see the similarities. You just put on a song and you start beat match. You do have your sync buttons. I don't suggest them, but they do work. For example. But like, also the sync button on software, I've noticed it just jumps forward instead of where you want to go sometimes. So be wary of that. You got your loop. Bit different, but so, once again, you do have your loop. Turning the knob will actually select it. You do have the information here on how much it's looping and all that, and your effect setting. So, this is actually the loop for effect. This one is actually for the thing itself. You actually also with Traktor type of hardware generally just push it into loop. This is also a reason why you once again want to scan the USB. If it's not scanned, you're gonna have an issue because it's just gonna be off if you can't time it like 100% perfectly to loop it. Say hello to the robot. So now that's always gonna loop for 32 beats or 60, whatever. And you can do whatever you want, I guess. So let's go through here again. Once again, you do know the looping system is also in your software often. Found a very big annoying thing with this device though is that if you press loop at the start, if you want to loop a song right away, then you might actually have an issue because it's just gonna start right away. Not always though. Yeah, just gonna do so. Once again, the cue point is actually a bit off and it can be very frustrating. See, that's better. something you see people use a lot with CDJs. It's just that cue point and tapping it to get a nice rhythm going. And you can basically do the same things with this, where if you have your cue points, you actually have your hotkeys. And those will be saved on your USB. So if you want to have a start of a song, it can be really great actually. This is a bit of a problem with Rekordbox. It doesn't scan as nice, so. Well, slider's still the same, very much more responsive. So here's the thing, right? If you do get a song that's 130 BPM, this is something I do suggest actually, which can be nice. Let's see if we can find one real fast. Sorry if you guys can't really read the information here. Here we go. This one's 129 instead of 128, which means it will always go up. Sometimes they don't actually show the percentage at the top anymore, for the very older ones. But it is some head work where you need to actually put 0.80% down for 1 BPM. So that means 1.40 for 2 BPM, etc. That said, generally it just works. What I find more useful to do is just press the sync once, and it will just jump the BPM on this track. And then press it again to actually turn it off, so you can do a good match to your liking. Actually don't hear the song. Basic 101 mixing, right? You just get to learn the songs, you start to recognize the 16 to 32 beat things. See, that song was different. It actually stopped about 16 sooner than I was used to. And that happens, that's why you need to practice and know the songs. With software you can actually see that, and that's a big drawback, so learn the songs. So that's this part. Now we're gonna go back to the PC and actually see if we can make it so that you can practice this kind of style on your PC. Alright, so we're back at our drawing board, and here we can see we have our little MIDI controller still, and we have our software loaded in front of us. So now we're going to set it up so that it is a bit more like a CDJ and with the information that you have. So let's start off with the mixer itself. We can pretty much use anything. Everything that's on here was on the CDJ, so we'll just leave that be. Except for the tracking one, where I actually set it up specifically to jump 16 beats. I'm not allowed to use that. These plus and minus are basically for tracking, just like the jog wheel, except a bit more delicate, and that's nice because the jog wheels on the CDJ are way better than what we have here. So we'll just leave that as well. Let's look at the software, shall we? The software, we are actually, it's very easy to make it a bit more like the CDJ, I found. So what you want to do is just click a bit double on that little edge here, and it will shrink. You might have to do that multiple times, it keeps rotating. So right away we have a lot less information here, just the name, how much time is in it, and the BPM, which is pretty much all I had just now. So okay, there's that. And next step is we're gonna make it smaller. So I'm just gonna make it smaller by shrinking it and shrinking it again, just unmaximizing the window. We could only see one song, but we do want to see the track list. Ah, there we go. Bit there, close enough. And we'll just do this then, I guess. There we go, that works. Let's see if we can add the mixer in between there, so you do see a bit of the things I'm seeing. There we go, that works, right? that's actually way better. Right, so we have our mixer here, and we're just gonna start a song up. So let's see, I got some random folder with dance music, honestly. Let's see, what's Bliss? This one, sure, let's put that on. Traktor is very much a lot more forgiving when it comes to the start of a song. It's way better scanning than Rekordbox, I found. So keep that in mind. Yeah, let's just load this up. And right away you can notice, if you look at the thing, you don't see where the song starts anymore. So you have to listen ahead of time to what the song is. So there it started. Okay, so that's the beat. I'm just kind of feeling that as well. I'm just gonna use a cue. It's kind of the same thing, as you can notice. 16 more. Just jog wheel it back a bit. Oh, I was actually off 16. That was stupid. I guess I'll have to start over. Ah, that's a good one. Okay, I'm just gonna skip forward a bit, so otherwise we'll have to be here all day. There you have it. It's basically the same thing I'm doing on the CDJ now. I do still see the waveform, but honestly I'm not really looking at it anymore because there's no information I can really get out of it. It's too hard to see for me what's coming up next. I do still see it a bit on the left side, but try not to look at it, basically. Just use your ears. Yeah, you do see a bit on the loop size, which is nice because you can't really see what it's gonna do if it's gonna be 16 or 22, so I guess you do still need that. There you go. You get a bit more feeling for songs, honestly. And by knowing you can only see one song, you really get the feel of I need to make my own folders, which is a very important aspect as well, right? You can press the sync button if you want, but why would you? It's gonna have the same effect like this. You might as well do it manually, right, if you're doing it anyway. And there you have it. I hope you guys will enjoy and trying this out. It gives a good feeling of what CDJ is kind of like. Newer models are actually way better and are far more automated than the older ones. But hey, you might actually get stuck with those. So try to practice and get better, right? Hope you guys all enjoyed.